so I can almost not see Carriacou anymore. I got a pretty nice balance in the boat and adjust my course, so I will be approximately 16 miles. Whoa, that's flying off the waves.
In this episode I'm gonna take you with me on board for my solo sail from Carriacou to Martinique, also showing you how it is to be sailing solo and how I do my sleeping pattern. My dinghy is stored in the garage and everything is secured and I'm ready to go. Always before I leave a marina or an anchorage, I go through my checklist to make sure everything is good. This is everything from oil and liquid level on the engine to windlass and bilge pumps. My route is well prepared and I have done some research on marine traffics to see where the main traffic goes in order to avoid it as much as possible. This also kind of dictates when it's best to leave and approximately where I'm gonna sleep and have my rest. My boat is perfectly set up for single handling and I do have several remote controls on board for my windlass. But the first meter of the chain I have to take up in the front to detach my anchor snubber. I use a rubber suspension on my snubber to make it more quiet and comfortable. The noise can be pretty annoying if I don't use this, and my bed is pretty close as it's in the front. I make sure my foldable steps is closed so the ropes doesn't tangle itself here. You can still see the marks from my Genoa sheets on the mast after the trouble I had when the Code Zero unfurled itself in pretty decent wind. Electrical or hydraulic winches is mandatory on a boat of this size. It is possible to do it manually, but I can promise you that's pretty heavy when you have some load on it. But winches like that is so powerful you can easily destroy things if you don't know what you're doing or paying attention. With a pretty decent speed out of Tyrrell Bay, I'm leaving Grenada and Carriacou behind for now. What a blessing it has been to have the privilege of being a guest here. Always sad to leave people behind, but I'm sure I will see lots of them again one day. One of the cool features on this boat is something I'm used to have on previous racing boats, and that's adjustable floor for the helm station, so you can stand straight when heeling over. Quite important on this wide body boat, as it can be a long way down when heeling over properly.
I just left Carriacou behind there and finally trimmed my sails because it's a little bit shades of the wind from the mountains, the small islands, a little bit turbulence, but I sailed a little further out to get more stable wind and doing pretty nice. I had 8.6 knots even before I was out of the bay in Carriacou, in Tyrrell Bay. Now I'm doing around 8 to 9 because the wind come down a little bit, but I did see 10.5, which is pretty good. Anyway, I'm not in a rush. I planned my sail, so hopefully I will be in Martinique around 7-8 in the morning. I can almost not see Carriacou anymore. I adjust my sails and trim my course a little bit. Will be around 14 to 16 miles west of St. Vincent. I like to keep a little bit distance to make sure I'm outside of the 12-mile zone, and also to avoid any conflicts with fishing boats. So as it's daylight, I normally do my power naps so I can stay awake during the night, because my experience is always at night when shit happens, so I prefer to be awake. So now it's time for me to start taking my 20-minute naps. But it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I couldn't ask for better weather to sail in. Like always in the Caribbean, it's a little bit choppy waves, so I slow down the boat a little bit, not to fly off too much. But it's absolutely beautiful.
So I sleep in intervals of 20 minutes, and between my naps I check the horizon, radar and IS. I have a guard zone on my radar on 10 miles, and also my IS will notify me with alarm if any vessels are on collision course. I have several arguments for sleeping during day, but one of my main reasons is sometimes it can be hard to spot other sailboats on the radar, especially if it's more waves than this. That's one of the things with pleasure boat radars I'm not so happy with, and sometimes wishing I had a better radar. Also, you should never trust technology too much, because end of the day it's your eyes and what you see out there that will always give you the best answer. At least as long as you are sailing with the pleasure boat equipments. I'm not stressing too much with the sleep, as this is not a long sail. However, I try to rest as much as possible, because I will have a long night ahead of me. Also, I'm not fully recovered after my hard round of dengue fever. And one of the side effects I have been struggling with for several weeks is fatigue. So I have been a bit worried about this sail to see how it would work out now. But as you can see, being out sailing just fills me with life and energy. This is what I love and feel so lucky to be in a position to do. There's really nothing that gives me more energy boost than being out, feeling the breeze in my hair and salt water in my face. I'm totally aware of this sounding like another cliché, but it's just what it is. I have had this feeling ever since I was just a kid.
I have passed the Mystique and now I'm outside of Beckway. It's pretty funny because I have a lot of friends that actually is on Beckway. But I'm sailing a little far out, so I cannot even see the island. But it's pretty fun to know that I'm actually passing a bunch of Norwegians right now. So the weather is good. I don't think I could ask for even more than this. It's really beautiful. As you can see, it's just like perfect summer day out sailing. I slowed down the boat a little bit, but still doing pretty good. So it's better to have it comfortable. It was a little bit choppy, so typical Caribbean waves, not big but very short distance between them. So when I sail too fast, it feels like you're flying off and just bouncing over to the next one. So no need to do that. I have plenty of time. So I'm enjoying myself here. I just had lunch after a few power naps. As I probably told earlier, I do power naps during the day in daylight, because that's when everyone else are keeping a good watch. And also my experience is like at night, it's when it's getting more things like squalls and more wind and things happen. So it's during daylight it's so much faster and easier to see if there are any boats in the horizon when I just wake up and take a look around. So when I do my power naps, I have IS alarm on, I have radar alarm on, and I only sleep for 20 minutes at a time. So, and also I on purpose sailed a little bit far out from the islands to avoid any fishing boats. So I feel this is pretty safe, but I mean it's a little bit controversial to be a solo sailor because obviously you are breaking international maritime laws. You're supposed to keep a lookout at all time, which is pretty much impossible when you're a single-hander. But I try to do it as safe as possible. One of the things that really put a big smile on my face is to know that my autopilot is just working perfect. I'm so happy. Because when you're a solo sailor, one of your most important crew members is your autopilot. And if you ever had trouble with your autopilot, you know how much you appreciate it when it works.
Last time I was in Martinique, I added one more autopilot and another hydraulic pump. So I now have redundancy in both computers and hydraulics. I have tried and failed in my own autopilot engineering several times. Too small pump, then the fittings were too weak, not fast enough, then the Garmin was not ideal, and finally I sorted out. It's been more or less an ongoing project ever since I crossed the Atlantic. But now, 3 years later, I have not only one autopilot, but two that I actually now trust.
So in these perfect conditions, I'm almost a little bit sad that it's not longer. I should maybe just sail to St. Martin instead, add a day or two extra. It's just unbelievable nice out today. So I just hope this will continue and just enjoying my sail and have a good time out here.
And because this is a sailboat, it will always be something going on. It's a saying, if you believe your boat is perfect condition, it only means you haven't yet discovered things that's wrong and waiting for you. I now struggle a bit with the lock for the mainsail halyard, so I just fix it on my aft winch. But man, what a beautiful sunset. I still love sunsets, but after changing my solo sailing strategy to sleep at day and staying awake at night, I learned to love sunrise even more.
So it's just after sunset and I'm at the very end of St. Vincent. Wind come down a little bit, so I'm not sailing as fast as I did. Now, not that bad, 6.5 to 7 knots. Haven't seen any boats actually, only a cargo ship way down there to the west. The closest he will be is 7 miles. That's actually the only one I've seen my whole journey so far. So, but life is good. I'm unfortunately cannot point as high as I was hoping for because the wind changed a little bit, but the night is young, so maybe hopefully it will turn a little bit so I can point more directly to Martinique. But I have plenty of time, so otherwise I just have to do a tack. No worries. So I'm in the channel between St. Vincent and St. Lucia. It's pretty big waves, but the wind picked up. Still struggle a little bit with pointing high enough, but I'm flying. I'm doing 9.5 knots. Phew!
One of the upgrades I've done is to add red courtesy lights in my cockpit. Not because I want it to look like the red light district, but it's actually the best for not killing your night vision.
So I just passed the container ship that had only 0.2 nautical miles in distance, which I think is a little bit too close in these conditions, but anyway, if he was going any closer, I would call him on the VHF. But I put a target on my radar and dropped the VRM and EBL, so I had full control of him. So I was really not that worried, but as I'm pointing as high as I can, there is really not much I can do. So otherwise, to call him and ask him to fall off a little bit from my course. So I just keep on going because I'm pretty sure I would have to beat my way up to Martinique. So it's better to be a little bit early then.
Normally it's not this bright, but everything for making a good video.
Man, but this is beautiful. It's exactly how I love it. Wind, waves, just flying.
Unfortunately, the wind changed a bit and came down a lot. I was right about my prediction that it would be difficult to maintain the course and speed over ground. But there will be more wind when getting closer to Martinique. And there it is, Martinique in the horizon. The island I love, but also have a very difficult experience with. And this is exactly how I expected it to be. Tacking and bidding my way up to Les Marais in Martinique. But who cares when it's no rush and you have sailing conditions like this. It's almost the same feeling I have setting out a mountainside on my snowboard in just powder. This time it was absolutely not as bad as the reputation of the Lucia Channel. The Atlantic waves are squeezed in between here and Martinique, and sometimes it can make pretty big waves. The current was still pretty strong on my nose, and the main reason for tacking out to the channel again, not to drift down to the Diamond Rock. And as the wind picks up again, Be Free is stretching out her legs and start running towards Les Marais, leaving the famous Diamond Rock behind as a memory of my intense fight to get in last time I was here. And just 2 hours later than I thought I would be anchored, I had dropped my hook at the quarantine anchorage. This location was given me by email from the MRCC in Fort-de-France before I left Carriacou.
I'm a little bit tired, but not too bad. I mean, I did get some power naps when I sailed, so I'm actually feeling pretty good. So can't wait to be back in Martinique.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Join me next week as I'm taking you with me and showing how it is to travel into Martinique these days. Also lots of other things that I hope you're gonna enjoy.